In our journey through the Lenten season, as we have looked at the books of Kings and the life of Elijah and Elisha, we arrive now today in Second Kings chapter 4. Today is Thursday, Maundy Thursday, Holy Week, and we have been looking at Elisha this week, reminded that his name means God saves. We're looking at the miraculous things that God did through Elisha, and they are reminders of the miraculous things that happen in Holy Week and what God did to save us in Jesus Christ. And so um, here today we see two different miracles that involve food in chapter 4 of Second Kings. The first miracle is Elisha. It's actually in the midst of a famine, and it tells us that Elisha's eating with some of the prophets, and he has a servant make some stew, and the servant mistakenly puts some gourds that shouldn't be eaten, and it's the stew's poison, and so they begin to get sick, and they realize it. Elisha throws some flour in it, and Elisha doesn't know some trick to unpoison the stew or to um, nullify the effects of the poison. God does this miracle through what Elisha does, and the prophets are okay. Next, it tells us that somebody brings him some of their first harvest, and it's like 20 loaves of bread, and he's got 100 people, and Elisha says, "Give it to everybody." And they say it's not enough, and Elisha says, "Give it to everybody," and it is enough. There is enough there to feed everyone. So we have a couple of important things that I think we can take away from these two kind of unknown, maybe less significant miracles that Elisha does. Not that any miracle is not significant for the people who experience it, but they're not the same as like yesterday's where he raised the boy from the dead. I, Maundy Thursday is the day that Jesus established communion. And so I think that we land on these passages that have to do with food as appropriate. One, they remind us that um, God saves us from the things that we shouldn't consume, that not food wise, but there are things that we consume, that we digest, that we take in life that poison us, that poison our spirits, our minds, our hearts, our feelings. And God, in His grace, can save us from those things and restore our minds and our hearts from them. But that Jesus also came to be the bread of life, came to give us um, what we do need to sustain ourselves. And sometimes people will say He's not enough, but He always proves to be enough, even for those who doubt it. And so we're reminded here in some ways, in some small ways, of communion, and that Jesus was that bread, and how that bread was enough for us, that his body was broken, that his blood was shed. But Maundy actually is a Latin word for commandment. And so this day was set aside to remember that on that Last Supper, on that Maundy Thursday, Jesus said to his disciples, he's giving them a new commandment, that they were to love one another as um, he loved them. So, really, in a very simple way, we see Elisha do this. We can look for deep meanings and hidden meanings and try to apply these things to our life. But what we see is Elisha saw some of his friends being sick, and he shared the grace of God with them to make them well. We see Elisha get given bread, and he shares it with his brothers and sisters to help them have enough food to eat. He doesn't keep it all for himself. And so while the Last Supper is a reminder of how much Jesus loves us and what his love brought him to do for us, this day is meant as a reminder for how we are to love one another, and the love that we are to pour out, and how we are to give to one another to help in times of need. to give out of what God has blessed us with. And so may that be your challenge today. Not just to sit and reflect on the love that God has for you, on the love that Jesus showed us in this Holy Week, but in the love that He called us to share with one another in this Holy Week. How will you help with the poisons in people's lives? How will you help give bread and help sustain life where people are in need? How will you love one another in the way that Jesus has shown you that He loves you?